this wellness world going into, the opposite of well-being, sort of stressed out, fast-paced wellness, almost fast wellness, like fast food, but supposed to be healthy for you in a way. Mm-hmm. So, my sort of own exploration, leading up to that observation was I was kind of at the beginning of my own trying to slow myself down, and not in a, I'm going to just do less, but in a very, my own quest of being well, the do less to do more, do less to do more purposeful things.
That was Tara Stiles. Hey everybody, welcome back to Seeker and Sage. My name is Danny Pomploon and I am your host. Today I'm coming at you with episode 152, and I have Miss Tara Stiles, who I firmly believe at this point in life that we are brother and sister from another mister or another mother or whatever it is. Tara is a new friend. I've been in orbit with Tara just around, the yoga universe. It's pretty small. And we finally got to connect. Her team and my team were able to reach out, and I got her on the show. And I have to say, it was just really cool to immediately connect with her and hear her voice. And it was really awesome. We end up talking about a new book that she has. And it's a transformational book. It takes you on this journey. And it really just brought me back to the summer, while I was going through my depression, and how, I ended up pulling out my tools and my resources. And a lot of the stuff that she brought into her book was, all these simple practices that really just help us come back to self. So it was a super informational podcast for me just to listen and also to get perspective. And she's just really sweet and super awesome. And I can't wait to connect with her even more. And as we head into the show here, I just want to remind everybody to head over to iTunes, leave us a review, give us some love. If you don't have the time to do that, maybe just share the podcast to your friends. This is how the podcast will grow. If you're in a place where you can make a donation over on our support page, it really does help keep the show sustainable. It's going to keep these conversations going, the connections going. And last but not least, we recently just created the Facebook group. So come join us. If you missed it last week, we just had a live anatomy talk in there. Derek, who's been on the show, came in and did a little talk. Next month, we've got a chakra lecture. And it's a great way for just the community to come in and talk about what's actually happening and connect with me there as well. So we'll leave all the links in the show note. Give us some love. Join the conversation in the Facebook group. And without further ado, here goes episode 152. Tara Stiles, how many times do you hear people just say anything about your last name? Because your last name is the coolest.
It's all my dad's fault,
Thanks, Dad.
Hey.
Tara, how's everything going on the East Coast? How you holding up out there?
Yeah, we have no personal unit complaints for sure. But yeah, we're hunkered down and doing all the things, getting the groceries, eating the food. That's it. Doing the yoga.
And being a parent too, no?
Yeah, yeah. Which, I have a lot of friends. I grew up in the Midwest. A lot of my friends had kids immediately after high school or in high school for that matter. So, I'm really behind them quite a bit. So yeah. I feel like this is a good time for me in my life to be a parent, because I'm just ready to get on the floor and act more like a grandparent really, and just play and do all those things. So I'm good.
You're like, can we fast track this?
Yeah. No, I'm good, but it's fun. Yeah. We're having a good time.
That's good. Yeah. Things are, they're here on the West Coast. I think we're still just at this weird holding pattern of the world.
Gosh. Yeah. But you're okay.
Yeah, ultimately things are really good. And I think a lot of it had to do with, on my own personal journey, a lot of us this year have experienced depression. A lot of people that didn't really ever experience depression depression this year. And we have the tools, which, I want to talk about some of yours, but we have the tools and we know that the practices work and all the things and, eating good and but it's sometimes you just don't have the energy to do it. It's just, even that felt, like a task. And so to be on the other side of this, where I have energy, where I feel like I'm a little more glowing, like just I'm able to actually radiate a little more, feels super solid. And I just wrapped this weekend called Nourish and Unwind. And selfishly, it was for me. It was 2 days of nidra and restorative, and we did a little Kundalini grounding, and we did some therapy ball work and some self massage.
Why was I not invited to this?
I mean,
you gotta call me next time. Now that we're
totally. And the cool thing about it, was the container that was set was very like, let's just be here and let's just show up exactly as we are. Like don't hold anything back. If you're sad, if you're feeling grief, if you're feeling joy, like just bring it all. Like invite every single side of yourself. I think was really special. And for a lot of the practices, you don't have to look at the screen. So I think people were able to have the experience of just going in. So yeah, it's that those practices have really just brought me to the other side. And same with, I'm kind of stepping into like my, version of, clean eating and, taking care of, my body and really understanding what and why I operate the way that I do in a yogic lens. And I know, you've got a whole system on it. And so, you came up with clean body and clean mind. And was it something from direct experience that you're like, I need to get this out there, or how did the book come about?
Yeah. Well, I think, honestly, like just checking you out online.
Hey,
I'm like, I want to talk to this person because I feel like, you've had, and I feel like, we could have many conversations about this, but just some sort of a real journey where these things have actually helped you in your life. And that maybe has also led you to sharing them with others, and that kind of, gosh, why don't all my friends do this? I mean, that's the feeling that I've had as soon as I started learning about all of this stuff. I start looking around, why don't my friends do this? Oh, because they feel intimidated, or they feel they went to something once and it didn't resonate. And, my kind of viewpoint, getting to the point where I am now about all of these practices is, you go to a restaurant, you don't like the food, you don't stop eating food, you just go to a different restaurant.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And, I think with yoga and meditation and Ayurveda and all this stuff that I've learned, kind of beyond yoga is I felt like that, I started to learn Ayurveda when I was 21 and, like I had a teacher that made me feel strange. So I just thought Ayurveda was strange and I can't do it. And, all the people that do pretend to be Indian and that's strange. And, I didn't know the word cultural appropriation yet, but it just felt odd to me. So I just kind of pushed it aside and said, well, I'll just keep eating my gummy bears until it doesn't work anymore.
Not a bad choice, by the way. Like also, everyone listening, that is my favorite candy. Feel free to send
nice. Yeah, it does.
Wait a minute, hold on. Now I got to ask you: is it the Haribo gummy bears, or what are the? Do you remember the small ones from back in the day that had like the gummy bears in the forest or whatever it was?
Oh, I don't know. Like that sounds a little too fancy for me. But yeah, I think it's just the CVS Walmart version,
fair.
Whatever you pick up at the in New York, the side of the road guys that sell the stuff with the New York Post,
Good combo.
The pack that you can like pick up before the subway comes and nobody quite knows that you just bought gummy bears,
Wolf it down quick.
Yeah, quick. It's fine. No one's looking at you anyway. They're all looking at something else. So yeah, sure.
Outside of the gummy bears, you started to get into Ayurveda.
Well, at first it was just, interested in all of the things, I got into yoga, obviously yoga is thousands of years old and all of those shenanigans. But, in the 90s, I was dancing and it wasn't everywhere. And my ballet teacher brought it in. And, I had the whole crisis, like, this is amazing. And this feels familiar. And where are all the people? So I just assumed that everybody who taught anything with this lens or this context was like an angel sent down from a spaceship. And they were all just, supposed to be the nicest people without any, power trips or moral complexes and all that stuff. And then I just learned that everybody's the same, So I think I just started going into, Ayurveda places and, I was a kid, I guess, and I acted even younger than my age, but I was kind of a punk and riding my skateboard and I'd have these, Indian men tell me that I just need to go home and calm down. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to calm down. Like, I'm just getting started. So
when in the history of asking someone to calm down, has that ever worked?
I know. So I just took it all the wrong way, to be honest. And, now kind of figuring out this stuff a little bit more, just asking questions about it more, to be honest. And, having more friends that are interested in this a little bit more and, some experts. And I finally just asked a question. I said, do you need to, because it didn't feel right to me. I was like, do you need to cook Indian food exclusively in order to do Ayurveda? And basically everyone I asked that was an actual expert said no. And that was like the thing for me that angered me the most. I'm like, why don't you tell everybody that?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Like you can have your grandmother's vegetarian soup and add a little ginger, and that can, that could calm me down instead of, me going up to Little India and buying statues and not knowing what the heck I'm doing, and also feeling very, inauthentic about the whole thing. So I just thought, okay, there's something there. Just like, I felt the same way with yoga. It's like all of these, people essentially trying to be of a different culture. And I kind of couldn't wrap my head around, why is there so much rigidity in this? And then I'm thinking, well, maybe the rigidity comes from, pretending. And if you're pretending to be someone you're not, you're going to be rigid.
Yeah.
So, I just didn't have anybody to talk to about it. Honestly, I hadn't met you yet. So I just was running around the planet, feeling alone, going to yoga things, asking questions and, being told to be quiet, because, back in the early 2000s, even there weren't a lot of young people that I knew that were getting into this stuff. Everybody was in their 40s and 50s, which felt like a completely different universe to me. Right. And my, riding it on a skateboard kind of a thing. So
and you kind of don't know until you know anyway. Like you have to go through some of that bullshit and psych yourself out a few times and even go, I can't tell you how many renditions of this I've done where I'm like, yes, I know this. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know shit, and it takes you, but I think that's the skill in action. I think that is the teaching in action. I think that is the yoga actually working in action when you're able to, you visit some made up stories and, and then you kind of question it and the inquiry happens and then boom, you re-elevate again.
Yeah, right on. It's the emperor's new clothes. It's not a new story, but I kind of keep going to that, that book, in many different variations and ask the question and nobody's going to give you the answer, but the answer is, what it is anyway,
Right. So. Right. Yeah, for sure.
The emperor's walking around.
Yeah, totally.
No one just wants to say anything, but yeah, I think that's, and then, checking in my own stuff, that's been my own, personal story the whole time. Like I'm from this zero town, I worked really hard, in my own mind to like get out and, small town girl made good kind of a thing. So, that's my own story too. Like everybody, girl against the world kind of a thing. So
for sure. I get you. Yeah.
But
so what ended up being, you've written a few things and you've definitely, you're very established as in your teachings and your practice. And, even the way that you bring it for me, from my experience, it's just very refreshing. It's very real. It's down to earth and it's super connected. When you came into writing this book, where did, I guess, the inspo come from? It's different for everybody, right? Sometimes you're intentionally like, I'm going to go write this book or I'm going to go write a book. And sometimes you're just literally hiding gummy bears while you're getting on the subway and you're like, oh shit, I actually have to, this is what I'm being pulled to. Sometimes you get just like this beam of magic where you're like, I got to go do this thing. Where did it come from?
Yeah, I think for me, it was kind of a phase 2 of the Emperor's New Clothes. It was sort of like, and coming to all of these things before the wellness industry was an industry. I remember the word like, mind, body, spirit. And if you talked about anything as being connected, it's like, no, it has to be also spiritual. And, my kind of original confusion was, why is it all separate anyway? And then kind of seeing the wellness industry completely take off. And, there was a moment for me in New York, and this isn't to make fun of the person I saw because this is myself. And I think everybody to a certain degree and relatable. I saw a woman walking out of some branded, fitness class with the whole outfit and the whole bag and everything, grabbing a smoothie from some fast food smoothie place, drinking it literally over a garbage can out of a plastic cup, and then violently throwing it down, getting one extra arm pump in, and then like crossing the street, almost getting run over to go to probably her massage session,
Right. Where she's cussing at the person.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is, an SNL skit waiting to happen. But, my lens on that is, this is kind of all of us, this wellness world going into, the opposite of well-being, sort of stressed out, fast-paced wellness, almost fast wellness, like fast food, but supposed to be healthy for you in a way. So, my sort of own exploration, leading up to that observation was I was kind of at the beginning of my own trying to slow myself down, and not in I'm going to just do less, but in a very, my own quest of being well, the do less to do more, do less to do more purposeful things, or, move in alignment with myself in the very kind of, East Asian Tai Chi way, all of these things, and really trying to figure out that, that balance for myself. And then seeing, this has got to be a conversation that I can have with somebody. And the more I started having this conversation of just, slowing down and looking at all of these tools again, with yoga and meditation and, feng shui and shiatsu and Ayurveda, and not being like, here's how to do them all in 5 minutes, guys. But like,
but everybody wants that. Everyone, they like,
and I've done that. I'm like, I've started YouTube videos in 2006. My friends were not going to do yoga unless I was like, here's yoga for your hangover, like do it. And you'll probably drink a little bit less,
Right. Yeah. It's interesting to me because, it's like, look, most of this stuff isn't glamorous. It's not pretty. It's not decorations and da 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 da. It actually kind of sucks sometimes. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's work, and so I don't know, you get to decide where you want to put your energy and your efforts in. And I don't know, I feel like I would rather, for me, I'm more inclined to say I want to do the work of committing to myself, versus a quick escape, versus not being able to experience it.
Yeah, I think that's totally, and sort of the, not to be all like capitalism, economy, all this kind of stuff, but it's like
true. Yeah, but
true also. And also like, I think we all got a little desensitized to what it means to take care of ourselves, because self-care became, literally a picture or literally a moment, and sort of like this luxurious thing that we need to have that's like an expensive object, literally, or a bottle of stuff that you can buy that somebody beautiful has or whatever, instead of like, okay, there's some stuff, you can get it if you want, but actual self-care can literally be all of the time. Like, how Tai Chi teaches us to move well while you're sweeping the floor. And, I would talk to friends of mine, or like, people that have kids too, and they're like, oh, it's so exhausting to like pick up the toys on the floor. And then I'm thinking, okay, how can I do that and not stress myself out because I chose to have a kid, like,
yeah, for sure.
So maybe I can crawl down to the ground and use all of the stuff that I, supposedly learned and know, and move around a little bit from my middle, maybe work out my little kinks and quirks. And hey, now I'm actually, I'm getting something done, but I'm also taking care of myself at the same time. So, and that's not like, I didn't invent that. That's what all of the wisdoms of all of these things tell us. But, sort of in the moment that we are now, we're so trained to have our self-care, be this kind of wrapped up thing in a bow, or the trip to the spa, or the thing that you just bought, or the outfit that you have. And it's, I don't know if that's all terrible, but it's not really the heart of all of the things. The things can be literally all of the time how you are in conversation with yourself, not kind of drinking the smoothie, throwing it in the trash can, and almost getting yourself killed on the way to your massage.
Yeah. And I think like the ugly painted picture about self-care is that it creates classism. Like you have people posting stuff that's, oh, I'm going to go get like a massage or at the spa or, whatever it is. And this is like self-care. And it tells other people that like, if you can't do this or afford this stuff, you can't do self-care. And I think that's a load of crap. I think that, there needs to be different entry points and also like demystify what it really is. It doesn't have to be an expensive paid trip to something. It doesn't have to be, like you were saying, there are other ways that you can do it. And I think, you hit the nail right on the head. Like it's not the green smoothie that was $15 before you almost die and go spend, $175 on your 2-hour massage. Sure, you could do it that way, but it's not the only way. And knowing that gives a lot more access to self-care to other communities that don't necessarily have the financial resources to do those things.
Yeah. And I think also for the spoiled people that have all that stuff, knowing that maybe just choose one thing and it'll work better. Sort of, we learn about food. You can't go to the buffet and eat everything on it and feel good afterwards. So maybe you don't need, a massage, a yoga class, a spinning class, a green smoothie. Maybe you can just do the one thing for a month and see what happens. Yeah. So I think that like, at least what I'm learning is with what all of these wisdoms are trying to tell us is, live as simply as you can. And, you'll enjoy a lot more, you'll realize that, that you can live with the rhythm of the day if you're not, pushing past every impulse in order to just squeeze something else in. And then, you can share that, you'll relate better to more people if you're not being a jerk,
Yeah. It's creating that buffer and that space for yourself. So, you know what I mean? It's that getting your deep breath before someone has to tell you to take a deep breath. Yeah. This is going to serve me or this is going to not serve me. It gives you that little buffer to really discern before you attack.
Oh my gosh. I know it can be so simple. My Uncle Norm, he lives on our family farm and we did this video like years ago for YouTube and he's like, Tara, I've been doing yoga on my own. I just didn't tell anybody. There's a woman on PBS and I get up at 4 a.m. and I feel better and it helps my back and I'm less grouchy, and this is a guy that doesn't really talk that much, but he opened up because he's like, it should be simple. It doesn't need to be, complicated or, make anybody panic or something. So I thought that was, good advice for me anyway.
I love that. End of episode. We got to get your uncle on the show now.
Yeah. He's a good one.
So I have a couple of questions for you. I recently just did this habit course and I learned a lot about habits, mainly that I got a ton of bad of them. But, I learned a bit about habits and I kind of went on this, as I'm going through my journey, this whole building in these new practices. And I've read a lot of, days and how many days does a habit pattern take and, blah, 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 blah. And they're actually all different. It really just depends on the complexity of the habit, right? How did you land on 28 days for this transformation?
I mean, I think it's just sort of easy to do, or at least easy to try to do.
Yeah.
I think it just makes sense to my mind and hopefully the minds of other folks. Like, okay, this is, kind of a month I can take things, not that things are compartmentalized and, mind and body and home and spirit categories, but kind of tackling one area at a time. Just like, if you're cleaning your house, you're going to start with the room that's really driving you bonkers first and then move on and then move on and move on and kind of dig in. But I think I don't think there's a super rigid way about it, but just enough time to do enough of the things that hopefully after the 28 days, it just becomes part of life. I mean, I think that's really the goal of any change. You kind of stop doing the practice and it's just part of your life. It's not this sort of extra thing that you're making yourself do anymore.
It doesn't have to be a task. Yeah. So it's digestible little bits of day to day, add this and layer this and layer this.
Yeah. So it's kind of getting into the mental reset and looking at how you feel about things. I think it's nice to, get people out of the pressure of, these are the things that I want to achieve, instead of, well, how do I want to feel, and what's going on with me? How does my body feel? And kind of taking a mental sort of reset first. I mean, one amazing thing I learned just from teaching yoga, I'm sure you as well, is you can have somebody that's on paper doing all of the right things, but it's not working for them because their mind is not in order, not calm, and not able to digest whatever they're trying to do to their body and everything as well. So I think that was kind of important for me to help people to address first, and just seeing how stressed out people get about doing their wellness practices correctly, and just, helping people kind of take their jacket off a little bit and just sit down and get comfortable, and then go through a process of exploring things. So by the time you get to the Ayurveda section, you're not panicked about, like I was when I was 21, I'm like, okay, I have to go and get all these spices. Otherwise It's not going to be right. You have a little bit more self-confidence in a way to experiment and do the things, but, don't worry so much about, being strict and rigid. And it's not the things that you're doing that are healing you. Essentially, it's you and how you feel while you're doing this process that you have your whole life to explore and get into.
What other practices, outside of, we definitely said there's some mindfulness in there. What other practices are in the book?
Two that I've gotten into a lot recently, just they've been part of our Strala faculty, and I just kind of saw them as, oh yeah, that's great. And I kind of, know about it, but really just, like everything else, Yeah. One is shiatsu and the other is tai chi, which are kind of, a way that I see them is sort of an inside out way of into a lot of the things that we're already doing. So shiatsu, I thought is so cool to kind of do with yourself, like the whole idea of how to make a good connection with yourself and with others. I think seeing a lot of kind of fast wellness of acupuncture too, these places almost popping up being like 10 minutes, come in and we'll poke some needles in you and then you'll be out the door, and wondering, I don't know if I want to go to that, but leaning on yourself in certain ways and giving yourself the time to kind of let your body adjust and let your whole self adjust. So something that's not just, super mechanical, but, incorporating your whole self, and of course, learning a few of the meridians and the points. And, I'm such a Philistine. I need to rename all of the Chinese points into things like, if this is going to quiet my mind, I'll call it the mute button instead of the Chinese thing, so I can just remember it, this totally. Is the mute button.
Yeah, totally.
Or the reset button, or the all of these different points. So I think that's just so cool. And then Tai Chi also is, just everything I read about Tai Chi and everybody I talk to that's done it for a lot longer than me, it's sort of like how we all feel about life, but we're not doing it, making a good connection with yourself in order to make good connections with others, like how to move in your body, even in your yoga practice. I did dance my whole life, and then coming to yoga, everybody taught it so differently. And there was a lot of classes that I went to that, would be super focused on how to align yourself in one pose. And then you forget about it. And then you do this other pose, but then how you move around the room wasn't addressed, and how you are when you're talking to somebody wasn't addressed. And you just kind of plop down on the ground and, kind of do these little aggressions to yourself in order to even get into alignment. And I was always thinking that doesn't really make sense to me, but I don't really know how to raise my hand and object either. So I'm just kind of like, I'm just going to be easy on myself and not contort and clap for myself. But, so, but Tai Chi really answers all those questions for me of moving from your middle, and, it looks like nature. You move from the middle of your body. The rest of you goes along for the ride. You're able to do so much more, all of the sort of self-help productivity stuff we're all obsessed with, like, just gets taken care of. You do more with less energy, which I think a lot of us are, of course, addicted to, that feeling of pushing and forcing and struggling. And we feel like that's, going to take us to the next level because of all of, our whole life experience of being able to do so much under that stress. But Tai Chi teaches us that, if you actually move efficiently, your body is going to be working, but your breath is the main source of your fuel. So anything extra is kind of double doing. You're becoming a target for yourself, or if you're in, relationship with somebody else in contact, or even just standing, not even in a fight or something like that, but you're going to be a target. You're a little more stiff, or you're going to, you're moving more awkwardly. You're going to fall down more. And, all of those questions that I had about yoga started to get answered. And I was like, oh, I can just move better myself and forget, everything else. And it's just, everything became better. Like getting the groceries from the floor to the kitchen counter became better. Like, picking up my daughter, sweeping the floor, my energy and leading classes and all of this just I had more of a vocabulary to help myself improve. And I think that's what's so cool about a lot of the East Asian arts. It's kind of a forever improvement, where it's not like a lot of the Western yoga. It's like, oh, you did the pose, congratulations.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Kind of, I just didn't know how to talk about that with anybody, So, but here we are. So
yeah. And also you sometimes, like I was saying, you don't know until you know, and you have to go through that process into the experience to alchemize it, and then, synthesize, alchemize, and then start to, present it out there.
True.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when you were talking about that, you do the pose and then the end, you take a picture of it and put it on Instagram, and then the end.
Yeah. And then the end. Yeah. Well, now it is. It used to just be the clap, or like being a dancer, like I would get called to the middle of the room to like do a back bend, and everybody would clap for me. And I'm like, really? I just feel like a dope, I'd walk out, oh, good back bend today, Tara. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, totally.
What am I doing?
I don't know if it's a fair question, but I'm just going to go for it. If you had to pick a favorite part of the book, maybe not like, I'm sure you obviously wrote the thing, it's your baby for sure, but like one part where you were just like, yeah, Tara.
I think the intro, honestly, I thought my editor was going to kick it out, because I had a great editor, and it was like a pretty tight relationship with, she's like, we want to like make this a book that's not weird,
Right.
But it was really, not a critique on the wellness industry, but also just kind of, in the first kind of whole section is about that too. In the mental section, about just, what are we so afraid of? Why are we, running against walls and, buying all of this stuff and showing off all these things, and then documenting it, like you said, and then expecting, all of our self-confidence to come from strangers and have conversations with these people all day long, in this, artificial way. And, and then we expect to be well, we expect to be healthy. And what does that even mean? Like, being healthy for the sake of just functioning correctly, or where's the joy in that? So, sort of a letter to myself, really, about slowing down and not just slowing down of, oh, it's okay, I'm just going to kind of quit and give up, but slowing down to actually impact more your purpose and feel better. And, maybe there's this huge secret that we're all just kind of missing, because we're just, panicked and told now that we're supposed to do all of these things every single moment of the day in order to, just be okay.
I think it just goes back to, what you said earlier. It's the commercialization of everything. And, it's every other, corner that you turn, there's something is shoving something in your face to go purchase or to feel better. They kind of prey on that. You just said it, they prey on people's fears, and so if they buy stuff, they would feel better, or they would fill that gap and fill that, whatever it is, versus hey, let's go sit with myself and nurture from within.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff really shouldn't be that hard, but I'm sure Michael Pollan will write a really great book about it someday. Cause I feel like what he did. I mean, come on. It's like, maybe we'll just, will that in there. But I feel like what he did with the food industry and how he laid that out, just like fed back to me my childhood. I think a lot of us like, oh, wow, here was like the 80s. My mom had an organic garden, like we're from a farm. And then I don't know if it was Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz or whoever just all of a sudden started telling my mother to buy this ice cream with like 0 calories and tell us to eat double of it. And those like potato chips with the Olestra in it. And then like we didn't eat broccoli anymore, but the broccoli vitamins got shoved into the bread or whatever it was. And it's like, I feel like that's where we are with wellness. And, I don't know. I just find it all like fascinating, but also, it's really cool to have conversations about it because we all want to feel better. I mean, that's not going to go away, but, I think there's got to be a better way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, and no better time than now to really, hone in on that. I think everyone wants to feel better right now, whether it's, physically, mentally, emotionally, or just energetically in the field, with the state of everything right now. I think like the collective wants to feel better.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, when I like literally put myself on this quest of slowing down and simplifying, and, a lot of what you were talking about with the program that you just were involved with is, my life just got better, and not just my life, but, as we all interact with each other, I felt like I was, not polluting the world as much with my, crap, not just like the garbage that I throw away, but like, the kind of how you would, interact with somebody in a great way or in an okay way. I felt like I had more great interactions now that were, maybe making the world a little bit better or whatever that is,
Yeah. Yeah. It's the space to be able to breathe, and to, it's the space to be able to breathe and decide, is this useful? Is this not,
Yeah.
It gives you that time and that space. I had a friend of mine and I recently were sharing about our experience of taking time off. And, it was the first time in like 5 years I had taken some serious time off, like 2 weeks. I hadn't done that in 5 years because I was always just like hustle, go, festival, teach, let's go, Europe, blah, blah, blah. I was just everywhere. And, I took this pause, and as I was, here I was like losing my mind for like a solid month of like, I don't know what I'm doing in my life. What am I going to do? And I'm sad. And I'm just like all these things, like 12 hours of no phone on me and just sleep. And I woke up and was like, oh, my life's actually really good. I just need some sleep and some quiet time.
Oh, that's nice.
Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just that like pause and that reminder, that reminder to give yourself a moment, I think a lot of people are afraid of that. A lot of people are afraid to take a little slow down or to go back to something so simple like ground and, move like Tai Chi, like you said, like move in a way that's with source, like move in a way that's good, that's going to go in. But, we kind of fight that a little bit. We know it's good. We know it tastes good over there too. We just forget.
I think it's like exactly what you said. I mean, everybody relates to this stuff because either you're going to have a burnout or you're going to avoid it or you're going to get sick. And, a lot of people come to this stuff after something bad happens. But if nothing bad has happened to you yet and you can learn this, I mean, professional athletes learn this. They don't waste energy. And I mean, you remember that when Usain Bolt crossed the finish line and then he turned and smiled at all the reporters for that picture. It's like he had so much energy left over after just going so fast because he was, doing what he does so well. And I just thought that that's, kind of everybody in all of these different fields of arts or of anything really, when you're really doing the thing with as much efficiency in this Tai Chi way and you have that flow state that we're all looking for in all of these, well-being practices, you get more. And that's what I love, from my own experiences, slowing down gets me more.
Yeah. 100%.
I know it's very like American, like I want more, but it's the sort of like breaking down the wall. I feel like it's just a lie, like you can get really far. I remember I used to teach one-on-ones a lot in New York when I first moved there, and I was just like a punk kid, and there'd be all these finance guys and they'd be like doing their move. And one guy didn't know how to teach him yoga other than just doing it with him. Mm-hmm. So I did this plank pose with him, and he was really strong. He'd go to the gym, and all of a sudden he was like, well, I'm getting really, I want to be in this plank pose for as long as I can. I'm like, okay, let's have a little plank pose challenge, not like a normal thing, but just for him, he's kind of crazy. So we'd be in this thing and I'm like, well, I'm just like this scrawny little kid. So I'd like bend my elbows a little bit. This is when I started to like think about Tai Chi, like roll around a little bit from my middle, not physically moving because he would have been like, you're cheating. But I could stay so much longer than him because he was forcing and pushing his way through this plank pose. And, I just think was such a good moment for me to realize, like pushing and forcing and struggling will get you far, but it won't get you as far as you can go. And I remember like explaining it to him there. And, it's just a funny moment because I'm just sitting there in my like American Apparel wife beater t-shirt, like talking to the billionaire guy, in his office and being like, you could really use your energy a little bit more efficiently. Like I'm at the beginning of this, but like, I know like I'm going to get to do some cool stuff, whatever, but, we stayed friends. And I think that's, we're all kind of like that guy, in a way. But that's the big lie. I think that's what a lot of this, even the relax, but make it look pretty, for the internet now, which is so new and strange, but there's still a version of that before the internet. Like you're just supposed to, be impressive to, other people, I guess, but for what reason?
Yeah. I love the simplicity of it all. I mean, that's really the golden ticket. I think you hit the nail right on the head there too. It's just coming back to stuff that is so simple will give you so much more space and less distraction for all of it.
Yeah. Easy.
All right, Tara. Well, it wouldn't, I'm going to put you on the spot again, but I feel like you have to guide us through like a 1 minute slowdown.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh my gosh. Cool. All right. So I guess wherever you are.
Unless you're driving, pull over.
Unless you're driving, pull over. Yeah, pulling over would be good. Yeah, I think the most important thing is to be comfortable. And I think, again, like you teach yoga, like the most cliche get a comfortable seated position. I just think that's so corny. I've always thought that was so corny. But I really think it does. Whenever a teacher told me that, I never would get comfortable. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, just sit in this position. But I think it's really important to actually be comfortable, like whatever that is for you, like soften yourself and, let yourself roll around a little bit side to side or easy forward and back. And there's something really nice in giving yourself that freedom or permission to move how it actually feels useful to you at the moment before you try to do anything at all. So letting yourself roll around a bit here. And simply noticing how you feel as well. I think a lot of people get kind of bored in meditation, like, well, what am I doing? But there's this whole amazing kind of number one show happening inside if you bother to give a look. And just noticing what's happening in there. And let your whole self soften. So physical, little bend in elbows and knees and any bendable part of you. But then a kind of whole self softening, just allowing yourself to be movable. And you don't have to breathe deeper or more full when you're soft. Kind of a door opening for your big, deep breaths, just to move through you, start to move you. Noticing your inhales filling you up and out like a big globe expanding. And your exhale softening, making it even easier to be where you are. And simply noticing how you feel. And take a big inhale. Long exhale. Let yourself roll around a bit from your middle. Maybe open your eyes if you like. Just notice what's going on around you. I think that's it. I think, practice doesn't need to have a beginning or an end sometimes. I can kind of keep going.
So good. Thank you, Tara. Appreciate it. It's so, so good.
Is that all right? That's corny.
I loved it. It was perfect. Well, I know you are extremely busy. You get so much going on. I mean, just
so
everything.
busy.
I appreciate you taking the time out and coming on to the show and connecting with the community and sharing your gifts. And like you said, everyone deserves to feel good. So I think what you're offering out there is absolutely perfect.
Oh, same with you. I'm following you on Instagram, doing your meditations now. I love that one you had about. It's funny because it got me thinking about, how we all kind of come to the same conclusions when we digest this stuff. So you had a really great one about inviting a feeling in to make a home in you in a certain way, or at least that's what I took out of it. And I love that because I feel like we all stress invites its way in and we don't invite it, just barges its way in. So inviting that good feeling in was pretty awesome. So thanks for that. I did that the other morning. I'm going to do it again later.
I love it. That's thank you. It's, you get it. We can talk about that for days too, but it's just it's a gift, and selfishly, it's for me. So
yeah. Well, it's working for other people too.
Yeah. And that's the bonus of it. Well, Tara, again, I appreciate you and what you're doing, and I can't wait to dive deeper into the book and share it with the community and maybe our book club. And
wow.
So yeah, until the next Seeker and Sage, this is Tara and Danny saying peace out.
Thank you so much.